If and this is in the last 7 or 8 years. Well, actually, maybe even going back farther than that now. But I'm at a point in my life where, yeah, I have regrets. I don't dwell on them anymore. I used to let them eat me alive, but now I look at things in a kind of a skewed perspective of when something happens to me in the now, whether it's a loss of a job or a loss of a 20-year relationship, the loss of, well, me moving away, and now I live a little bit farther from my daughters than I really like to. But I still get to see them on a regular basis, and I want to make sure that I'm always a big part in their life. But when something happens to me in the now that I am upset about, I look at a kind of what got me there, and where's it going to go from now? What is this stepping stone? I don't look at everything anymore as a huge turmoil, or something that's really going to just throw me off my kilt. But I try to look at it anymore as what is this stone? What is this stepping stone that I'm on right now? Because I've looked back and I've got this path of stones that I've been walking on that takes me one place. It may take me a step back, but why did I go a step back? Well, because now I'm here in a better spot. It's kind of like a chess game, or a chess match. And so I look at things like that in the now of, okay, where could this take me? I'm here. I'm not dead. What's next? It's try to put a positive twist on it as opposed to dwelling on it and letting it get to me. So, but that's just my own little personal thing I do.
But no, that for you, that is your truth. That is your identity.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing when, I won't use names, but someone who had gone through I got to visit during this trip. This trip was multifold. It was not just to go down and say hey and check on and do program updating or do modalities. Some know, but not many.
Yeah.
But my Obachan, the person who raised me, I buried her this past Saturday.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries. No, she lived a full existence, a full life. So everything that she essentially taught me, that maybe I either was too stubborn and young to listen to, or even not at a point maturity-wise to even comprehend what she was teaching me. But she never gave up on me, no matter where I was at in terms of, being committed to hospitals, getting in accidents, just near death experiences.
Yeah.
One of which I was electrically shocked and lit up like a Christmas tree, but somehow my heart didn't explode. It did stop. Technically, I was dead for about 5 minutes, but they used the AEDs and brought me back.
Yeah.
And that's its own separate soap opera. Well, we won't even put it, but I realized that everything that she put into me, it's very similar to what I'm trying to do with other people now.
Yeah.
Now, she came to America in January of 1946 from Tokyo, Japan, to rule Mountain, North Carolina.
Right, yeah.
Didn't speak a word of English. Already one child here and another one in her belly, and had never been around children. So I won't go into any of that, but you can probably imagine, especially in the 1940s,
yeah,
a Japanese woman in a very close rural community.
Yeah.
But yet she weathered that. And so and there was a lot of from the influence from her family, her grandmother, her father. And the same lesson she taught me is that you do not be defined by what others tell you or give you. You define yourself.
Yeah.
And like where you say you were using different reference points. As long as you had a reference point behind you, always keep it there. But always make sure it's behind you. Never go back towards it.
Yeah.
Check it for reference, but never go back towards it. Is that whatever you're at, wherever you're at, you are only supposed to progress. You never regress.
Yeah.
And even, again, quoting Bruce Lee again, keeping your goal fixed but being flexible in your approach.
Yeah.
Sometimes the straightest path is not the best path.
Right, yeah.
because you probably won't appreciate it when the objective is complete, and the lessons that you were meant to learn along the way will either not hold or will not be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a mindset that people, I think they kind of lose themselves on that as they get so fixated with their way being the only way and their approach being the only approach that they don't make progress because they keep doing the same things over and over.
Expect different results.
Exactly. The whole definition of insanity. So, but I look at this and I wish that I could preach. Sorry, I'm going through my notes here again, but I wish that I could preach to everybody that just getting up off the couch and getting out and doing something it would solve so many psychological issues, I think, that we suffer as it seems to be as a culture anymore. It used to be masked with alcohol and smoking way back in the day, but because that's how they dealt with it. They didn't know any different. But now we're smarter and we understand that the mind needs to be exercised. It needs to have blood pumped to it. It needs to be involved constantly. And it even goes back to the whole thing with I read an article, I believe it was with Ronald Reagan, in his years before he passed away, dealing with his Alzheimer's, and his bodyguard detail, his Secret Service detail, would go out and scatter the leaves. He would go out and rake them, and then they would go out and scatter them again, because it kept him moving, it kept him active, even though his mind wasn't always there. His body was being active and moving, and they honestly think that created to an account of a little bit more of his longevity. So what kind of advice could you give youngsters these days who feel like they're lost, or feel like the weight of the world in some ways is just too much for them?
Having been one of those young individuals, the one thing I wish I could have heard in an earlier time, now granted, I'll touch on it if there's an opportunity later, but you cannot control other people, but there is a place to where all things are equal. And what I mean by that is the same 135 pounds on the bar is the same for you as it is for the kid that has a mommy and daddy that's there for him, the kid that has more money than they know what to do with, for the poor kid, for the one that has red hair and freckles, for the one that's Asian and can't speak any English. It's for the lone African American in a predominantly Caucasian school. It's for the kid with cerebral palsy. It's the same weight for you as it ever is for everyone else. So when you struggle, they struggle at the same weight. And that's where all things are equal, because you can't hide from the iron. You can't lie to it, and it won't lie to you. It simply is. Yeah. And it doesn't care where you're from, what you had to eat, what religion you have, what languages you do or don't speak. It doesn't matter. But yet you can fight it equally the same as anyone else. And no matter if the world is on you or not, guess what? You can pick that up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's simple. I honestly believe it's that simple. I mean, we're all dealt different hands, and I like what you said earlier about we all drew a short end of the stick one way or another, and the mere fact is nobody's getting out of it alive. So you make the most of it. But when it comes to what we do, yes, it's an equalizer. And some people it's going to crush them, and that's because they let it. But it's what happens when they get crushed. Do we walk away?
It's the perfect metaphor.
Do we keep up? Do we stand up and keep going? So, So, we talked about it. Would you recommend, and I'm going to assume that you probably do anyway, and you can correct me on that, recommend training for somebody with the same struggles? I mean, whether it's psychologically or whether it's substance abuse or just something, would you recommend strength training to anybody in that set of circumstance, or would you do it kind of on a case by case?
Overwhelmingly, yes. Now, whether they stick with it or they evolve to something else,
right?
Yes, I would, because it's simple.
Yeah,
it's simple based upon, if you walk in, just move this weight from here to there. Well, how? I don't care. It's just a plate or a dumbbell or a kettlebell or whatever it is. Here's a chain.
Yeah.
Just move it back and forth.
Yeah. And
then at one point, okay, just walk away from it. And give them the point of, like, you know what? That's the same thing you can do with your addiction. That's the same thing you can do with the psychological diagnosis you've been given.
Yeah.
It'll still be there, but you can walk away from it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would recommend. And maybe not everyone go out and get a personal trainer, but find some type of structure. Find something where you have a guide or a mentor. They don't have to be, quote unquote, a strength coach.
Yeah.
But something to have that point. I won't say, rah cheering it, but just simply that guiding hand, like, no, you can get better.
Yeah.
Let's try this.
Yeah.
Okay, that didn't work, but that cross-sublimation, to give that power, give that gift of strength.
Yeah.
Yes, I would. I'd highly recommend it. Anyone and everyone, young, old, doesn't matter where from or how far.
Yeah.
Because it's so visceral. I mean, and I don't know if they do it anymore, but kids, when they used to play on a playground,
Yeah.
they would, when they bend over and pick something up, well, that's kind of like, a deadlift or a stone shoulder,
yeah.
strongman, and when they would, run and then stop and then, scoot down real quick, well, that's kind of a squat.
Yeah.
Or they're climbing on the monkey bars. Well, I mean, it's so ingrained in us from our birth.
Yeah.
Even for the individuals that have like MS or something on, it's still, they want to interact. We're given that sense of touch,
yeah.
taste, smell. Use them.
Yeah. I laugh. I chuckle when you said that about kids today in playgrounds, because that's just a whole different soapbox for me. But
yeah.
And I'll go back to you talk about not telling everybody to go out and hire a personal trainer, because my mindset on that, because I am a trainer, is when it comes down to it, and I want somebody to hire me, I want to work with somebody who has already built a foundation with exercise. And I say that, and it might sound a little bit arrogant, but I say that because to me, when I work with somebody, I want to have proof. I want to see a track record that they're going to now take what they have learned on their own and progress to a commitment. And as a trainer, I get too many people that want a personal trainer and then they're only with it for a few sessions or a couple of weeks, and they're not taking advantage of my knowledge. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody, any question, answer any question, talk about training until I'm blue in the face, and I won't ask for a dime. But for me, that's how I got started. I got started by learning by trial and error, and having the bros in the gym say, hey, dude, you're going to hurt your back doing it that way. Let me show you this way. Because to me, that's another stepping stone. That's a path that I learned a lot on my own. Yes, I had help and guidance because I wasn't so stupid. I listened to it. But eventually I progressed to the point of I thought about hiring a personal trainer because I wanted to take it to that next step. And then I discovered the wonderful world of, coaches, and made friends over the years. They were like, hey, try this program. And it's like, okay, let me see. So I started learning from people on that end of the program, so I didn't have to pay for that knowledge. But when it comes to people who want personal trainers and stuff, I really wish that people would take time, if they're wanting to get into fitness or lifting, to learn about it. Not just pay somebody to walk you through a program and write a program for you and not understand why it's designed the way it's designed. And if you're a good coach or trainer, you should be able to explain to your client, well, I've laid it out 4 weeks for this, 4 weeks